I started this channel 10 years ago with one goal, to get to single digits. And I did. So for a while, I thought to myself, okay, I'm a good golfer now. Then I went in and got my first professional swing analysis at GolfTec. And that's when I realized I was shit. So starting today, I'm going back through that analysis, what they found, what my coach tried telling me, and what I should have been trying to fix this entire time. Welcome back to Degenerate Golf. Let's get out of bounds. So a couple years ago, I did something that I had never done before. I signed up for golf lessons, not because I was chasing scratch, mostly because I needed something to get golf back in my life. I'd moved to Arizona right when everything shut down, and I thought for me that would mean playing more golf. Sunshine all year round. It's one of the meccas of golf in our country, but that didn't happen. I had no golf group, I had no network, I had no on-course contacts. 1 year turned into 2 years turned into 4. So going to GolfTec made sense to me for very valid reasons. It gave me structure, it gave me a coach, it gave me a plan. And more importantly to me, which is something that a lot of private coaches couldn't do, it gave me access to a place to practice, and it gave me regular and routine golf simulator time. One thing I've realized as I've gotten older is this. As we get older, we have to work harder to stay physically and mentally fit. And if we don't invest in the things that keep us balanced, that keep us centered, that keep us happy, slowly, eventually, they just disappear. Golf has always been my primary form of stress relief. It's demanding mentally and physically in all the right ways, and it's a very personal game. I leave the course, I leave practice, I put my clubs away, and I am 100% better off than when I showed up. And I realized that I didn't just abandon this channel, I abandoned golf. I abandoned something that was very important to me and to my health. I needed to find a way to force myself to pick up my clubs again. So when you go into GolfTec for the first time, the first thing they do is an hour-long golf swing analysis, which is the coach's polite way of saying he's going to film everything you do for an hour, and you're going to go through it frame by painful frame, and he's going to tell you where you suck. They show you things that you didn't even know was happening. And for someone who loves this game, it is a humbling experience. I remember I was coming off a broken collarbone. I had not played golf regularly in a long time, but I still felt like I was athletic enough to play off of 9. But then you see the reality, and they put your swing up there side by side with actual good golfers, with pros, and you realize exactly how ugly everything is. My coach found 3 major things to work on. The first thing was wrist hinge. At P3 in my backswing, I had almost 0 wrist hinge.
But I want to see that club higher in the air. Yeah. So you haven't quite hinged the wrist yet. This is costing you a little bit of speed, which is going to cause or force you to swing harder than you have to. The wrist hinge is one of the biggest levers in the swing to create speed, and we just don't have it yet.
And it sounds small, but it impacts and changes everything in the swing that comes after it. Because then at the top of the swing, I was overswinging so much that my left arm was breaking down and had way more bend than it should have, which caused me to rotate my shoulders way more than I should, higher than tour average. And I started realizing this isn't one little fix. This is a chain reaction. There's not one lesson that's going to be a panacea to fix all of this. It's not dramatic. It's just disorganized. So I had 0 wrist hinge. My left arm was breaking down because I was overswinging way too much at the top of my swing. And that ultimately led to the bigger issue, which is what my lower body was doing. Because I was overswinging so much at the top, my right leg was becoming fully locked. So instead of turning properly to generate more power, my lower body was swaying away from target. That was moving my club way across plane at the top of the swing.
So a couple of things happened at the top of the swing. You did continue to sway away from the target. You can see this right leg really locked. It's moving in the right direction. It's just a little extreme. The other thing we're going to look at, you can see on the left side how the club does move across the plane. Now we're going to have to reroute it on the downswing. Now because you overswing a little bit, try to lengthen the swing, a couple of things are going to happen. Number one, the left arm, your lead arm is going to bend. We're at 43 degrees. Tour average is 15 or less. Because we overswing a little bit, you lose a little bit of your tilt. Position 3, you're perfect. 36 degrees. 35 is the exact number, and then at position 4, 37. As you lengthen the swing, you kind of stand up a little bit, and you lose all your tilt. You can see how your head moves away from the target just a little bit. There's just a little excess motion going on here.
So my whole backswing became this chain of compensations and consequences. And it explains a lot. But that's the part that stung. Because once I saw it, you realize exactly how ugly it is. So the interesting thing is this. The lessons obviously helped. My ball striking became more confident, became more consistent. My swing became more organized. But there was a huge flaw in the overall plan. Me. Eventually, I stopped practicing. I didn't put in the work needed to see the improvements, which I think is pretty relatable. But improvements in life, improvements in golf, isn't really about the lesson. It's about what happens after the lesson. It's about the work that you put in after the lesson. So this restart, my golf renaissance, is all about me finally listening to my coach and doing the work long enough for it to actually stick. So with this channel coming back, I thought a good place to start would be here. Going back through my old GolfTec lessons, looking at what they taught me, listening to what my coach was trying to tell me, and seeing if I can make those changes stick. Not in a fancy training facility, in my backyard, on the range, practice where I can. So this is gonna be my dad golf lab. Experiment in whether golf advice survives contact with real life. And for the first few episodes, it's gonna be centered around my GolfTec coaching, fixing what they found, applying what my coach told me, and then eventually I can move forward. So the next time you see Dad Golf Lab, I'm gonna start with the first thing GolfTec tried to fix, learning how to hinge the club properly in my backswing. Which sounds simple, but if golf and YouTube have taught me anything, it's the simplest things that are the hardest ones to make permanent. Let's get out of bounds.